welcome to Random Blends exhibition. We are about to start the opening ceremony very soon. A very good afternoon to our esteemed guest of honor, Ms. Tan Pin Pin, Head of the Communications and New Media Department, Dr. Mohan Dutta, fellow professors, mentors, and guests. Welcome to Random Blends 2017. I am Atiqah.
And I'm Insyirah, and we'll be your MCs for today. So this is the 9th consecutive exhibition organized by the Communications and New Media students from the National University of Singapore. Our theme this year is Interceptions, which aims to bring digital, interactive art and the community together to examine how new media and communication can have a social impact. Our exhibition seeks to generate greater awareness about social concerns raised in Singapore. But more than that, we wish to facilitate a gradual attitudinal and behavioral change on the part of the audience. As you can see, Atiqah, media actually plays a really big role in our daily lives, how it is used to influence people, communicate new ideas, as well as bring about social change.
That's right. But in our exhibition, we also wanted to touch on alternative or silenced discourses in society today. These social issues might not be openly discussed or are unpopular discourses that nobody wants to talk about. But no matter how well hidden, they exist.
Exactly. As such, the process of interceptions is broken down into 3 different stages. Firstly, dissonance, resistance, and lastly, disruption, which aims to bring visitors like yourself on a provocative journey, challenging you to reflect on your perceptions on various stereotypes in the society.
With that, let's invite the director of Random Blends, Dr. Nancy Mauro-Flude, up on stage to give a few words. Dr. Nancy, please.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for coming, everybody. So Random Blends is the annual showcase of the Department of New Media and Communications at the National University of Singapore, in which the theme of this year is Interceptions. My colleague, Dr. Elmi, asked me, what is the difference between interceptions and interventions? And I thought, he actually whispered it in my ear during a conference, and I made a gesture like, interceptions is like this. And I obviously thought about it all weekend and thought, what actually is the difference? Because the words are quite similar. But interception, in my view, could be seen as a form of serious play in various forms. And it is my observation that so very often artworks are presented, often as if they are an altar to worship. But instead we invite you with this theme, Interceptions, to contemplate in a playfully serious manner. Also remembering, because too serious play may be hazardous to your health, and health communications is a research area in our department. So interception can be more specific, an actual point where there is a significant change in direction. It may not be immediate, but it is often quite a polarising and can often happen with great force. So this showcase, we hope, is a radical forum for thinking about the dynamic role that new media play in communication with the world today, where digital art and culture fuses with community networks. So devised by students, alumni and staff and faculty members of the CNM, the showcase examines the ingenious ways which practice-based interventions have social impact. Interceptions arises from an understanding of how provocative questions communicated by the critical use of networks can be raised in novel modes in a playful way of social engagement. As a new member of CNM, it was an honour to be appointed head of Random Blends. However, to take on the obligation of shifting conversations through art is no small feat. There is no doubt that being granted the ability to showcase at Art Science Museum opens up an incredible opportunity for our department, C&M, our community, to demonstrate the genuine impact of our actions on the wider public sphere, and also to see ourselves outside of ourselves in a different light. Often we only see each other in a particular context. So once you change that context, obviously you're engaging with the real world. So this event is also practice-based creative arts research for our students, whom at the end of their undergraduate phase, I am actually privileged to know and see the fruits of their labour, and who are able, the students are able to galvanise the importance of collaboration and learning how to work together, and also get a little bit of a taste of the real world in that sense. So great works of communication in the broader sense are artworks, and in that sense they demonstrate a powerful message and are ways of inviting reflection on difference and cultural difference, even when implied rules and protocols are often very different and they proliferate, right? The C&M head of department, Mohan Dutta, made mention that the world of communications is messy, complex and full of uncertainties, and that we showcase Random Blends is a testimony, something to the illuminating the soul and the value of collectivistic and sociocentric thinking. So I want to thank the C&M for letting me experience that sociocentric thinking with my students and also with the department. But also I want to thank our external mentors, Tracy Hamilton, Dr. Alex Colning, Nick Smithies, and the curation team at NUS Museum, who have all generously and steadfastly given guidance and professional advice. And last but not least, especially the staff at Art Science Museum, the public programs team are a formidable bunch of women who have placed their trust in our emergent, chaotic processes towards the realisation of this showcase. So on behalf of C&M, I would also like to thank them. And now I would like to hand over to Mohan Dutta, but first with an applause for these people. I thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Nancy, for the inspirational speech. We will now like to invite Dr. Mohan Dutta, the Head of Communications and New Department, to come and give a few words before we pass on the time for Ms. Tan.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon and welcome. So glad that so many of you could make it to this event. Guest of honor, Ms. Tan Pin Pin, esteemed colleagues, students, alums, and friends of C&M. Random Blends is an annual event that is a wonderful opportunity for us to showcase the work that our students do over the years. It is my pleasure to welcome you to C&M's 2017 Random Blends event. Random Blends, an annual showcase of the artworks created by our students and faculty and curated by our students, reflects the spirit of critical theorizing, engaged in conversation with practice that mark the path that we have taken in C&M. So it truly is a C&M hallmark in that sense, bringing theory to practice and linking the worlds of theory and practice. Random Blends is a window into our imaginations, how we think about digital and communication pedagogy, and more importantly, how we believe that pedagogy should shape the world. In other words, we argue that theorizing should never happen in the dead beat of dead theory in the ivory tower. Theorizing must and should connect with the world of practice and engage with the questions of practice. Imagination is at the heart of the art of storytelling. What stories we are going to tell ourselves today and to the makers of tomorrow shape the life worlds we inhabit. It is this provocation of what stories to tell that draws me so powerfully to this year's theme for Random Blends, Interceptions, that Nancy has described so beautifully. Over my many years at CNM, as we have grown in our intellectual strengths and diversity, I've always admired the space we have made, and sometimes we have struggled to make. Our faculty and students, us together, for provocations as invitational openings. And Interceptions is a beautiful window into this habit of and habit for asking questions. Interceptions, I'm an academic, so I go to dictionaries to look at definitions. So interceptions, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is a noun, the action or fact of preventing someone or something from continuing to a destination. I find that quite provocative in of itself in terms of interrupting something proceeding to its destination. And here's another meaning that is more directly related to communication and signals. I quote, the act or fact of receiving transmissions before they reach the intended recipient. So you understand the notion of play, creativity, and intervention at the same time. To intercept, therefore, is to both interrupt into that which we take as normative, and also to do so by interrupting into the flows of communication. A Random Blends team, in its promotional material, sums this up very nicely, and you see it in their brand slogan. Interceptions arises from an understanding of how provocative questions communicated by the critical use of media can rouse serious play with novel modes of serious engagement, play and engagement coming together. As these powerful pieces of artwork demonstrate, interceptions interrupt the assumptions we often make of people, of communities, of groups, of events, and of histories. The social norms we inhabit, that we take for granted as the way things are, often reproduce various forms of disenfranchisements by marking the other. Margins, therefore, are a theme that continue to reiterate through these exhibits. This mark that is born on the body of the other becomes the basis for a plethora of marginalizing practices of communication. Art as interception, therefore, provokes us to question this very othering. Here, socially circulated signals that stigmatize the marked other are interrupted through artworks, inviting us to question the basis for our assumptions, our meanings, and our interpretations. Art, in this sense, intercepts into our own biases, stereotypes, and discriminatory practices toward the other, inviting us to reflect on our everyday forms of exclusions that we make it a part of our habit, of our everyday practices. We are invited to challenge. We are invited to ask questions such as what is pure, what is impure, what is sacred, what is profane, what can be said, what cannot be said. We don't just give in to the diktat, this or that is unacceptable, or we cannot talk about this or that. Instead, we are prompted to ask, why not? To intercept into the dominant stories of society is also to question critically that which has been passed down to us as truth. That truth claims themselves are produced at sites of power, offer opportunities for reflection, questioning the basis for these truth claims, how they are produced, and to what goals they are circulated. We ask questions such as who generates the claims, who benefits from these claims, and whose voices are silenced by these forms of claims making. Narratives, therefore, the narratives that you see here are never neutral. They are acts of politics. These are times that call for tremendous creativity and sustenance in our habits of asking questions, and I refer to this as habits of asking questions. Creativity that interrupts the rise in authoritarian responses that we see across the globe. These works of art that speak to these ongoing theoretical and practical negotiations for us in CNM invite you, I hope, to a journey with conversations that offer openings for these kinds of reflexive transformations, asking us to reflect within as we play with ideas and push these boundaries. Just these exhibits offer you opportunities for pushing, and for interrogating. So welcome, and I hope that you enjoy this exhibition, and I hope that you enjoy the provocations and conversations that they offer to you. So glad to have you here. Let me now turn to the support that this event makes this event possible. Thanks first and foremost to the Art Science Museum, who has supported us over the years in putting up this exhibition. Thanks to Honoraga and her team for the incredible support, and to the mentors for the many number of hours they have put in to support this work. This couldn't have happened without you. Thanks, of course, to the CNM support staff who always step in all the way from budget to administrative issues to respond to the everyday challenges of putting together an event like this. More importantly, thanks to our students, faculty, artists, and alums for your inspiring work. You continue to inspire us by the questions that you pose. Keep doing what you do so well. Thanks to the team of Random Blend students who have conceptualized, designed, curated, and promoted this exhibition. Last but not least, I would like to thank Professor Nancy Mauro-Flude, who worked tirelessly to put this exhibition together. And I remember this right from about a year back when you started working on putting up the concepts that go into this exhibition. It's a lot of work, and thank you for all the pains you have taken to do this. Much of this is a result of your patience and your hard work. So once again, welcome, and I hope that you enjoy the exhibitions and the performances that are here for you to glean.
Thank you, Dr. Mohan. Now, we would like to introduce our distinguished guest of honor. She is an established film director who has gained loyal followers around the world through her thought-provoking films such as Singapore Gaga, Moving House, to Singapore with Love, just to name a few. Her film, In Time to Come, has also recently been nominated in 3 prestigious international film festivals.
Our guest of honor is none other than Ms. Tan Pin Pin. Ms. Tan, we are honored to have you here. And now let's just give a round of applause to Ms. Tan before she comes up to give a few words. Ms. Tan, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank Professor Mohan and Professor Nancy for inviting me, and also to the staff and students of the Center for Communication and New Media for inviting me as well. I would like to laud the organizers for having a play area for children, so that the interceptions that happen will have a place, rather than so to allow the interceptions to be folded into everyday life rather than just to be nominally pushed aside. So I'd like to thank the organizers for even thinking about that. I almost wish that I would have the children running around this place just to give meaning to the idea of interceptions as well. I'm very honored to be asked. I'm usually asked to attend film-related events, but seldom in a new media environment. And just seeing the exhibits around here today makes me feel that I'm a very, very old dinosaur. Having been confined to a rectangular frame for the best part of 20 years, just working within a frame in a single channel environment, and I almost feel as if I should really just break down the borders of the frame to address the multitudinous layers of communication modes that actually open to us to ask the questions that need to be asked today. And on that basis, I accepted the invitation because I feel that, I have been doing this for 20 years, and I think it's now time to think beyond the frame. And the other incident that caused me to think this way as well happened last year. There was an explosion last year, and I was just totally swept by it as well, and that was Pokemon Go. I'd never seen before this huge tsunami that tied together so many strands of what I try to do in my work as well. Tying in fun, tying in spaces, tying in time, tying in community, and bringing families and friends together, taking them to different parts of Singapore, parts that people would never otherwise visit, even though when they're there, they're stuck to their phones. So a lot can be said about that kind of engagement, but I just thought, wow, what mind made these kawaii Pokemons into such a magnificent tsunami, and why am I still making films? I mean, I would be very happy if I made a project like this in my mind at that time. Thankfully, that wave has passed. I'm back to launching my very boring, relatively new film in time to come just 2 days ago. But I think what I liked about so many of the works that I've seen as well is, at least in the film circles in Singapore, we're always talking about asking government for funding, talking about the lack of budgets, and hence using that as a reason not to engage or not to start the journey. But seeing these projects, I'm just very, very impressed by the fact that a budget is one issue that needs to be addressed, but it's so often it's the thinking behind the projects, and I feel that the way that the projects allow the people behind them to think deeper about it beyond just the surface, a 2D surface, I find that really, really important, and I wish maybe instead of going to film school, I attended this school instead. Because I do feel that it is important to question, and to question something that's so much part of our everyday lives. And as to the end of this questioning, then we come to the question of what exactly are we trying, what are we asking, and why are we asking it? And my advice would be to go for the most difficult questions, and not to settle for the low-hanging fruit, because I think that would be the easiest thing to do. And as in the answering of these difficult questions, I feel that it is important, especially in a place like Singapore, where there are just so many strictures in being able to answer them. I mean, for myself, even archives are not available. I mean, just a very simple example. And to actually persist in the journey to answer them, using existing resources as far as you can to play with them. We talked about, the use of the word interceptions, and you also use another word, provocation, and I think it's nicely tied to the idea of interventions as well. I myself, maybe because of the social slants of most of my work, I would actually maybe prefer the word interventions, primarily because the word interventions suggests a more sustained engagement to the question that you're trying to answer. And I think that sustenance and that persistence is probably what will create the change that we're hoping to see at the end of it. I think the word interventions versus interceptions also suggests that there may be more at stake and more at risk. And I think it is time that we almost put ourselves in front to make it count. So you're not in and out to stop, you're there, stopping again and again and again. Anyway, that's how I see my role as a film director in Singapore. Even starting from my first work, Moving House, made in 1996, more than 20 years ago, which tangentially questioned the land use in Singapore, how cemetery land should be preserved rather than summarily used for housing projects, and leading to, of course, most well-known recent work, To Singapore with Love, which strives to ask how did modern day Singapore begin, and at what cost it had come to be. most recent work in Time to Come, which tries to question the role of public rituals that gird our everyday life and what it actually says about us. I mean, some are actually more you would say more risky than others, but I feel that the importance to question and to push is important part of what I do. I think beyond that, I don't have anything more to add, but I'll be around, so please feel free to come up to me to chat with me. Like I say, I am really struck by the layers in a lot of the work that I've seen, and I feel that there's something us filmmakers in Singapore can learn from. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Tan. Without further ado, may we invite Dr. Mohan Dutta back on stage to present Ms. Tan with a token of appreciation for her presence here today at our annual Random Blends exhibition.
With that, we declare the 9th annual Random Blends exhibition
Open.
Woo!
Now, may we invite our guests of honor and VIPs and our guests to for a short tea break before we commence our tour. Thank you.